Welcome everybody to The Candle Enthusiast. I am your host, Shane Carlson, and this is Aromatically Speaking. This is my secondary channel, the future home of all of my candle content. We can be geeky, we can be passionate, we can do whatever we want. Today I have another Bath & Body Works or White Barn candle to discuss with you. I did purchase this candle a long time ago, which should tell you that this is not a new candle at all. I purchased a candle in 2017, but I did a giveaway for the candle enthusiast. So I did an evaluation, I smelled it cold, but I never got a chance to burn it. And when I was in Bath & Body Works about 2 weeks ago, I smelled it and I'm like, you know, I don't even care if I do a video on this. I just want to burn this for myself. It was hitting all of the criteria that I enjoy. The candle that we're going to be discussing is going to be cinnamon sugared donut in the White Barn vessel. Across the top we have that brushed brass lid with White Barn punched right on that lid there. And we have this turquoise seafoam tumbler. And something that I was noticing, tell me that this color, right, doesn't remind you of jasmine from Aladdin.
I am not a prize to be won.
Like, I don't know. I'm a Disney person. Let's give this a sniff, and I'll tell you my experience with it burning towards the end. So, I mean, I just had this jar open while I was talking there for a little bit, and I did just put my nose in it. But right now, even with the jar closed, I'm surrounded by this cloud of cinnamon. I mean, that's really what's coming through first. And I'm not talking about cinnamon sugar. I'm talking about cinnamon here. This mild cinnamon that's already ground, that's in a, McCormick's jar. Maybe it's been there a little bit too long on our spice rack, or maybe it's tucked way back in our pantry and we forgot about it and it's been there for 3 years. I think maybe all of us, can relate to this experience. But when you smell that aged cinnamon, it's just a very dusty, powdery, mild form of this cinnamon. It doesn't nearly have the kick of the freshly ground cinnamon. It doesn't have the spice. It just has this wonderful essence of this was once cinnamon. To me, at first, creating this Christmas experience. This is important because I'm going to keep going. This is also very sweet, right? It's cinnamon sugar after all. But there is, cinnamon and granulated sugar cane mixed together. But there's a higher level of cinnamon here. This is sweet, but it's not a syrupy sweet. It's not a massively sweet candle. Like I said, that powdery cinnamon was really what really comes through. It makes me start to think about all of the applications of cinnamon and sugar. And my favorite thing was the cinnamon sugar on a toasted piece of bread with butter when I was a child. Perhaps a buttery, salty quality to this, but this is more of a baked good. This has donut in the name. So accurate and beautiful, because I mentioned this in one of my live streams. I was talking about this candle and how there is no apple in here at all. There's not. I certainly don't think there is. But it's amazing how the yeastiness of the batter, the dough of the donut, the fried quality that it also has, with the cinnamon. I'm going to do the cinnamon and the sugar separately. The cinnamon and the sugar, how it all comes together, and how your mind, or at least mine, connects the dots. And I almost feel like I'm smelling apple cider donut, and yet there's no apple here. This is the beauty in candles that, I always try to bookmark these moments so I can point them out to you guys, that you don't have to load up a candle with all of the ingredients of what you're trying to create. Your mind is smart. Our memories are powerful. I think in this case, the apple here, well, that would make a completely different candle. But by the apple simply not being a part of this doesn't mean that I can't smell an apple cider donut. The apple doesn't need to be there. It probably wasn't their intention when they're making this candle, but if it was, maybe they wouldn't have to put it in there, because your brain can fill in the spaces. At first I'm smelling Christmas and thinking about making gingerbread cookies, and now I'm thinking about roaming around the countryside in apple country, getting bags of apple cider donuts in the paper bag and all the baked goods all around, and it really is transporting me to autumn. So Christmas and autumn. But that's not it. There's more. There's something in here that I wasn't quite sure how to describe it, whether it was a purposeful nuance to this candle or if it was somehow just a byproduct. The smell was a byproduct of the candle, but there was a little bit of this deeply toasted, almost, not fully, but almost burnt quality. I definitely didn't hate it, but I needed to really think about it. Cinnamon rolls, right? Or other pastries that are rolled in a way where some parts will cook faster than other parts. And sometimes when you get cinnamon rolls, right, they can get a little bit overcooked in areas, which is good because you'll have a crispy part next to a super doughy part. But on that crispy part, there is tons of fat, there's butter, there's sugar, and there's cinnamon. And when you mix those things together, butter can take heat well, but, and cinnamon can take it okay, but sugar can't. If you give sugar too much heat, it's going to burn, or at least it's going to start to turn into this caramel toffee flavor and aroma. And that is what I'm starting to experience. When I smell this candle or when I burn this candle, I'm getting this kind of like the inside of this cinnamon roll, really crispy part that's overdone. And it's not a large part of this candle, but it's a big enough part that it's definitely worth mentioning. And to be perfectly honest, added to the overall experience for me in a very good way. I should say mainly when it was burning. Coffee cake crumble, and that, that texture of the cake inside. It's not super moist. It's hopefully it's not too hard, but it just has this flaky, crumbly quality with that nice kind of snappy crunch of the cinnamon and the sugar on top. And all at once, I'm experiencing that coffee cake with my father. I'm experiencing those apple cider donuts. I'm experiencing making those gingerbread cookies during Christmas. And it's just a loaded punch of many different things of cinnamon sugar. If this was just called cinnamon sugar treat, we could fill in the blanks, but this is cinnamon sugar donut, and I think that is a very apt name for this candle. I usually don't come out and just say it like this, but I really did enjoy burning this. However, I was having some problems, but I checked in with some of my candle folks, you guys, and asked about your experiences burning this candle, and everyone said it was usually an easy burn. I was having the puny wick situation, which is so frustrating. When you burn that Bath & Body Works candles, and excuse me if you are a Bath & Body Works connoisseur here, but when you burn those wicks, they mushroom out, which really helps pull in the oxygen and regulate the speed in which the wick will burn. It also helps with the volatilization process of the fragrance oil turning into vapor. But what was happening is these wicks were just burning and they weren't opening up. So what was happening is those wicks were drowning in the wax, and I just wasn't getting a good pool. Therefore, I wasn't getting a good performance on the candle. Wasn't really strong. It wasn't giving me the carry, the distance of the aroma that I wanted. But with a little bit of trial and error, again, I'm still very new to Bath & Body Works. I just took a sharp tool, a little tweezer, and I pulled those wicks. I just essentially just almost like unraveled a rope, right? Just unraveled the wick. So they had this gnarly tree-looking quality to it. And what this would do is help, again, feed that wick oxygen, regulate the speed of the burning. And I had to, some people cotton ball, dip the cotton to pull out the wax. I just dipped the wax out into a separate glass, got this thing burning again, and then poured as much of the wax back into the tumbler as I could before those wicks started drowning, and it burns perfectly now at this point. So if anyone's having trouble with the puny wick situation, the wicks being submerged into the wax, put out the candle, take out some of the wax, don't throw it away, just put it aside, and then just take a small piece of tweezers and gently try to pull those wicks apart, and then pour that wax back in. Not too much, you might have to leave some out and put the rest in your melter, but that should fix the problem. If you have a way of fixing or aiding in the puny wick situation, puny wicks, it sounds like a name of a teenage rock band. If you have a solution for the puny wick situation, leave that in the comments below. And if you burn this candle, let me know what you think. Is there anything that I left out, or is there anything that I didn't address, or something that you just blatantly don't agree with me, or some story that you would like to share on how this is a personal candle for you? White Barns / Bath & Body Works cinnamon sugared donut. Let's read these fragrance notes real quick. Fresh ground cinnamon. See, I don't think it's so fresh. Sugar crystals, Tahitian vanilla bean. I didn't address it, but to me, yeah, it's coming through. I should have said that frosting on the cinnamon bun. I think that's very accurate. That's not Tahitian vanilla bean, but you can have Tahitian vanilla bean inside of a frosting or whatever that stuff they put on a Cinnabon is. I don't know if that has a name. That stuff is crazy. But to me, it reads more of a thick, decadent, really heavy, sweet frosting. But otherwise, very fair fragrance descriptions. So there it is. Beautiful. And I will be happy to be finishing that tumbler at my leisure. Maybe a little bit in autumn, maybe a little bit at Christmas, whenever I feel like it. Thanks so much for joining, folks. I truly appreciate you joining in and always sharing your positivity and kindness. A little bit of promotion to fuel the candle enthusiast. What do I mean, fuel the candle enthusiast? To keep this channel on its feet. Not necessarily the candles, but the travel videos, the destination videos, all of the adventures on the main channel, the Candle Enthusiast. These future videos. I have a whole schedule planned out for 2020. It's, by and large, will be the best year of videos that I've produced since the very beginning. All of those links and how to do that stuff going to be in the description below. Thank you so much for joining. It's always a pleasure. And I'll be talking to you folks soon. But until then, be good, will you?